thank you for taking the time out to actually attend our event. Essentially, we actually have the launch of our next generation platform within our partner portfolio. With that, it's actually Pure Storage, and ultimately, as the name says, they are strictly pure storage. They actually focus on the not just storage capacity, but the performance as well as the security. And we actually have two of their team members here today to actually give us a little more information on what Pure Storage is, what it represents internationally, as well as what it can do for us as the local clientele, right? So with that, I'm going to hand over to Kenneth Rodriguez so that he can continue with his presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Good. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. So I'm Kenneth Rodriguez. I'm sales manager for Pure Storage. I manage the Caribbean and Central America. And with me is Edward Ortiz. He is basically in charge of engineering. So the first part of the presentation, it's pretty much a corporate overview so that you have an idea on what is Pure Storage, what is it exactly, what we do, what's our position in the market. And then we jump into the technical details and technical stuff around our solution, okay? Just feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. This can be as interactive as you want it to be. So with that, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about Pure. I have a long presentation here just to have a visual reference for any question, but I'll be talking for the next 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, okay? So, Pure has been around in the market since 2011. That was pretty much when our company was founded. First products started to be delivered by the end of 2011. By 2012, you can say that we started penetrating the enterprise market, okay, enterprise accounts. Today, we have a presence in 70% of the Fortune 50 companies and in 67% of the Fortune 500, okay? So you think of a huge enterprise in the globe, there's a 70% chance that they're using Pure Storage as a main storage platform for what we call tier 0 and tier 1 workloads, right? When I say workloads, it's actually applications, databases, and let's say the most important things that are pretty much running our business, the heart of the business, is in Pure Storage. As you can see, this road and transformation, we are now in the 6th generation of our flash storage. So we started as a flash-only storage company, right? No hybrid offerings from a hardware standpoint. No mechanical drives as we used to know them. No RAID technologies. If you still talking about those terms, that's pretty much the old stuff, right? It's what we call a retrofit, what other brands are doing in the storage market. It's pretty much retrofitting solid state drives, flash, and the new stuff into the old architecture. So that's why terms like RAID are still used in the industry, but they don't belong to the flash world. And Edward is going to give you all the details around our technology and how exactly we protect our flash storage and how we deliver those 6 lines of high availability, okay? So Pure is the fastest infrastructure company to actually reach 1 billion in the history, okay? So here you can see some other companies that have a global presence in the market. I know it's a little small. I see some of you trying to look at what it says. First one is Groupon.com. The other one is GoDaddy Inc. Priceline. Google is right here. Amazon.com. Match Group. Square Inc. This is Facebook right here. Expedia. Yahoo. Verizon. eBay. And there's Pure Storage. As you can see, no other IT infrastructure brand in the market has been able to reach the level of growth that we have been able to reach. We're still growing at a 38 to 40% quarter over quarter, and and this is no different in Latin America, right? We started in Latin America about 3 years ago. I opened let's say the operations in Puerto Rico to manage the Caribbean, and most recently we were assigned the Central America territory with great success, okay? If we look at Pure Storage from a global standpoint, you will find that we have presence, again, in pretty much 70% of the Fortune 50 companies, right? We have more than 12,500 customers globally, and we have around 18,000 flash arrays already deployed and in production for mission critical workloads, okay? If we are to look at this, let's say divided by industry segment, this is how it would look like with pretty much a few of the Fortune 50 companies represented there. So, for example, you see Facebook here, right? You guys use Facebook, right? You know, use the. I don't.
You still use Facebook?
I don't. I've been divorced twice, so you know, the Dutch prohibited me to use Facebook. But for those of you using Facebook, when you take a picture with your phone, your mobile phone, and you create a new post, right? You notice that Facebook will pretty much do the facial recognition, right? And it'll do the automatic tagging of your friend, and that happens like in the blink of an eye, right? So that's a Pure Storage product behind scenes doing that for Facebook, okay? So that's the level of performance that we actually deliver with our solution. Even the smallest one will deliver less than 1 millisecond of latency, but we do have solutions that delivering less than 250 microseconds of latency, okay? So you would think that this is not accessible from a price standpoint to the size of the market in Latin America, but it's actually quite the opposite, right? So, so far we have more than 400, the actual number is around 457 customers already in the Pure Storage ecosystem for the territory that I cover along with Oddwork, our partners, our distributors. So some companies are going to be familiar to you, like Clarion and Colonial and companies operating in the English-speaking Caribbean. We even have mortuary services in some of the countries in Central America using a Pure Storage platform because some specific needs, right? Not just storage, but some companies need to comply with encryption, security, and there are many use case adoptions for a Pure Storage platform, right? So it's not just pure storage, but there are other necessities driving the acquisition of Pure Storage platforms. So as you can see, we have presence in all the industries, whether it's the government agencies, healthcare industries, retail. We also have the largest service providers in the industry and in Latin America as well. So the Pure Storage platform is multi-tenant, right? You can apply quality of service to any volume that you can create in Pure. So we have all the tools that a proper service provider or a company offering platform or storage as a service or even hybrid solutions connected to clouds. That's part of what we deliver in Pure. And you will find out during the presentation that we deliver that at no additional cost to you. Everything in Pure is included, right? So there are no licensing fees. There is no other intangible products that we offer in our portfolio rather than the support that we're all accustomed to pay for any technology appliance or technology device, right? Okay, any questions so far? No? Simple enough. So, in the market, we are number one in flash, right? I know there are several offerings in the market combining the old stuff, or what they call hybrid, which is a storage platform that can use mechanical drives and solid state drives in the same chassis. We don't do that, right? We're pure flash, 100% flash, and we have an NVMe architecture, right? So we were first in the market with an all-flash solution, first in the market with an NVMe solution. Do you know what NVMe stands for? Perfect, non-volatile memory express. So it's the ability to talk directly to memory. So that's basically what we're doing. We're delivering a platform that allows the hosts and the application to talk directly to the memory, to store directly to memory with native protocols, and to retrieve that data natively without any kind of traductions in the middle, or there's no middlemans in the architecture, right? The other competitors in the market are just a retrofit of the old stuff. So what they have is platforms that would talk internally, the serial attached SCSI protocol that we all know, and they use different traduction APIs to communicate with the solid state drive. So very different architectures. So we say that it's not fair when you compare Pure Storage to other platforms in the market, right? Because we outperform all of them, right? So, and it's not Pure Storage saying that we outperform the other competitors, it's actually the market, right? When you look at what Gartner has to say, or IDC has to say about Pure Storage, it's pretty much that we outperform our partners, not only on technology, but also our business model is way much more efficient, and it eliminates the extortion that most of you are pretty much suffering with other brands. I know it's a strong word, but even though it's a strong word, I actually created a slide for this because this is, I know it's painful, right? When you have a storage platform and it's time to renew the support, and the other brand gives you the bad news that the support just went up 30%, right? The price of the support just went up 30%. It means that every 3 years or so, or every year, depending on your contract, when you need to renew your support with the other brands of storage, the price just keeps, getting higher and higher and higher. Or even worse, they tell you that, guess what? We can no longer renew your support because you have an old technology. So the system that you currently have, it's in the end of life period. So, after a couple of years or 5 years or 7 years, the other brands will reach to that point where you need to throw to the trash what you currently have and do what it's called in the industry a rip and replace. Pretty much buy the new stuff, right? And go through the tedious process of migrating your data to a new platform, understanding how the new platform is managed, right? That's another painful process when we are doing a rip and replace. So Pure Storage has created a business model to eliminate this extortion. And we call that the evergreen business model, all right? So in Pure Evergreen, basically evergreen is the same as the support that you pay in Pure, right? It's a support subscription, but it gives you a lot of benefits associated to that subscription. The first benefit is that you get a guarantee that it's called Love Your Storage. Why Love Your Storage? Well, when we first delivered our first system back in 2011, we delivered the system to a company that was doing business with a different brand of storage, and they have been doing business with that other brand for 20 years. So it's not an easy decision, right? I'm changing what I've been doing for 20 years now to try out the new kid on the block, right? So the Love Your Storage guarantee basically gives you 30 days to be completely satisfied with the acquisition of the Pure Storage platform. If you're not completely satisfied, we will do our best to fix whatever is not working for you. But if at the end you want to return the Pure Storage equipment to Pure, no problem, you can do that, right? We'll give credit to all the parts, and you return the Pure Storage product. All right? Any questions?
You said something about Gartner. Sometimes you read something online, but Gartner is a trusted and reliable source for where technology is going. It is said that the Pure Storage essentially, it's the only one that has don't have the shackle of first and second tier being two different technologies. In terms of long-term technology increase, they say about 6 to 10 years with one set of Pure Storage will still work. From your experience, do you think it will go beyond that? Let's say by a set of Pure Storage, how much further it will go before you change out?
That's a great question. That's a great question, definitely. So our business model has been actually designed to avoid the technology getting old, right? We avoid that rip and replace. The way we do that is that we offer, as part of the evergreen business model, what it's called free every three. So if I look at the architecture is designed to last at least 10 or 12 years, right? However, it might change. We're now in our 6th generation of flash, or direct flash, but probably next year we'll announce a new technology that will again disrupt the market. How do we protect our customers from reaching a point where what they bought gets obsolete, right? So what we do is that with Evergreen, you get the new technology every 3 years, right? The new technology can come in 2 different, not flavors, but in 2 different fashions, right? Let's say you bought an equipment, like this example that I'm going to give you. Let's say you bought an equipment, I'm sorry, it's a wrong slide. Probably don't have the slide here. But. So let's say you bought an equipment back in 2011, and it was, I don't know, it was the Flash Array FA450, right? And 3 years later, we announced that a new platform called the Flash Array M is going to take over the Flash Array 450. So what we do is that we either send out the new controllers to you, right? And in Pure, the architecture is defined by the controller. So it's the same chassis, same flash modules, same power supply modules, same NV RAM modules, so that you only switch the controllers, right? So we either send you the controllers, or if the chassis has reached a point where it needs to be replaced by the newer chassis, we will send out the new equipment to you with the chassis, with the new controllers. And all changes from one platform to another one, and I'm using a different word, right? It's not a migration. When you change from one platform to the other one, it's not disruptive, and it's part of what Courtyard is going to explain. All the upgrades in Pure are non-disruptive. So you connect a pair of cables to the existing array, right? So that you create a tandem between the existing one and the new one. And all you need to do is start swapping flash modules from one array to the other one. It's completely assisted by a Pure Storage engineer. And you will be able to move from one generation of the storage platform to the new one without disruption of the services, right? And all you need to do is keep paying the support, keep renewing the support. But the way we do eliminate the extortion is that the price of the support will never change over time, right? So we give you the price today. You haven't buy a Pure Storage platform yet, so you know the price of the support. Let's say tomorrow you buy the storage platform. 3 years from now, it's time to renew the support. And guess what? It's the same price you paid at the very beginning from a support standpoint. Then 5 years later, it's the same price. Then 10 years later, it's the same price. Then 15 years later, it's the same price. So all you need to do is keep paying or renewing the support, for which you already know what the price is from the very beginning. It's never going to change over time. So it's a better way to manage your budget and the resources of your company to, continue to do that operating expense. And the technology will never get old, right? All the opposite, it's refreshing every 3 years. Yes.
What's the cost of not the cost, what's the frequency of support?
We are very, very flexible on the way we offer our support. Some customers decide to prepay the support for 3 years. Some others decide to prepay for only 1 year and renew every 1 year. Some others prefer to buy support every 6 months or every 3 months. It's your call, right? So we are very flexible. Actually, the way we quote, thank you, the way we quote the support is on a monthly basis, okay? So what you get is a quote showing what the price of the support is on a monthly basis, and you multiply by the amount of months or years that you need, and that's it, you're good to go, right? So another benefit of the Pure Storage platform is that all the software is included, right? I have it right here, all the software is included. So if I go back to the previous slide, I'm showing here some of the, let's say, capabilities that are bundled within the software, like replication. The replication can be asynchronous or synchronous. We also deliver active cluster. For those of you familiar with the term, active cluster allows you to have 2 active data centers in different locations where the data actually resides in real time in both data centers. So let's say you have a unique data store that will exist real time in both data centers. So it means that both are active, both can write data to the same data store, both can read data from the same data store, but if one of the data centers fail, then you have no recovery point objective and 0 recovery time objective, right? It's different than active passive solutions, or different than asynchronous solutions where you have pretty much to lose data, right? And when you recover after minutes or hours or days, depending what your configuration is, okay?
Kenneth, my question is, how are you able to accomplish that? Because I know with other solutions, even if they say it's an active cluster, there's still some delay in terms of the copying over of information from one cluster to the next.
Absolutely.
So how are you able to accomplish that real time?
Absolutely. I'll explain that to you immediately. There's another question here.
That's almost the same question.
Okay, almost the same question, yeah. Okay.
Because what you're saying is that you operate continuously.
That's correct. That's
Add
correct.
replication as well.
That is correct. So, yeah, so that is correct. So, you have probably heard about this type of solutions with other brands and other providers in the industry. However, none of them can get to the level of fault tolerance that Pure can, right? And on the other hand, they will charge you to make this happen, right? So the way we achieve this actually is by using the Pure One cloud, which is where we monitor all the Pure Storage arrays, okay? So a Pure Storage array has 1,180 telemetry sensors, okay? So we know exactly what's going on in your array from a hardware perspective, but the telemetry sensors are also looking into how the blocks behave, so that we are actually able to identify whether what you have inside the data store is a SQL database or an SAP environment or an Oracle database, or whatever the workload is, we know what it is, right? So every array is reporting real time, right? Every 30 seconds it's reporting to the cloud the information taken out of the telemetry sensors. So now that we're monitoring each one, we actually know the state of each one of those arrays. In our cloud, and it's a cloud for predictive analytics. So what we do with the telemetry is that we can predict in time whether there's going to be any kind of performance degradation in your application or any hardware degradation of any component of the array. So that that's where we put the mediator, right? So when we talk about active configurations, you always need a mediator, right? Let's say that's the third side monitoring what's happening with the first two, right? So this is where the decision is basically made, whether side number 1 goes down or side number 2 goes down. We let the others know what's going on with their counterpart. So now the side that's left will take over the entire resources to manage your data, okay? So in other brands of storage, it's really difficult to achieve this level of redundancy because they need to add a third side. They will charge you for that. They need to add appliances basically to orchestrate this kind of solutions, which we do in our cloud, and you are not paying for that cloud because it's part of the evergreen support, okay? And all the capabilities are bundled, even the implementation of that active cluster. It's done by Pure at no additional cost to our customers. All you need to have is 2 flash arrays in 2 different sites. To achieve an active cluster configuration, the link between the 2 sites must have less than 10 milliseconds of latency. This is very efficient in Pure, right? Because we do replication with our data reduction algorithm. So what we are replicating is very small compared to other brands, okay? So there are different topologies of active cluster because we can mix and match several things. We can do active, and then have a third one in passive mode, right? Or with asynchronous replication. So we can do crazy things that no other brands can do.
All right, I'm guessing that answers the question, right?
Okay, one bit. Since you have the cloud mediator, which is the Pure one, right? For organizations that their information is very sensitive and they generally do not like an external application that their data may or may not pass through. They want to keep that within the confines of the organization. How secure? Is there any way that their information can be accessed through the Pure One Cloud Mediator?
No way. No way to access the information because we're not accessing the information actually. All we're doing is receiving the logs, the telemetry logs from the array. So there's no actual data in there. So we don't have access to the data, right? But we serve this kind of solutions to the CIA, to military, and in some instances, like in mobile data centers, like with the Formula One, right? If they do active cluster, then there's a mediator that can go on-prem. So we've pretty much solved all the different roadblocks that this kind of topologies can have. So yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, yes, in the mean of, you can have the mediation on-prem, you can have it in the cloud, but no, we don't access the data. We're just getting the telemetry from the sensor, so no real access to the data. Right.
So it's just telemetry, the metadata is not the actual data.
Exactly, just telemetry of the sensors.
And I noticed that you have on there you have VMware, Oracle, whatever support. So,
Right.
Would this be, for instance, if you had a VMware, would this be a saving in licensing for, say, SRM? If you were to use?
No, I mean, you can deploy active cluster without SRM. So SRM will automate how the virtual machines restart and how they manage the resources in the event of failure in the data center. So it's a complement of what we do in active cluster. So you don't need to have SRM from a VMware standpoint, but it's nicer when you have SRM because you can automate other, failure possibilities, and the way the virtual machines are managed with SRM, you will require less manual intervention. And again, but Gamil, it all depends on the type of architecture that you have. Because if you have servers here, right, connected to this array, and you have servers here connected to this one, and they're both looking at the same data store. So it all depends on how you actually configure the topology of either active cluster or SRM. But at the end, we're giving you a tool at no additional cost. And this is a use case adoption, a punctual use case adoption for many enterprise customers in our ecosystem. So it means that this has been the reason why some customers have chosen Pure Storage, because this is huge in the enterprise. So this is like the most impressive way to protect your data center, right? That's pretty much it. So let me just jump back to the other presentation. To continue with the Evergreen, right? So we talked about Love Your Storage. All software is included. Right size guarantee. We have unique algorithms to reduce data, right? So Akbar is going to explain how those work. But when we size an opportunity, we size based on those algorithms. So how is it that Pure is more cost effective than other solutions in the market? Is because we require less raw capacity. That's pretty much the bottom line. We require less raw capacity. So if you need 50 terabytes of storage, we will probably sell a solution to you with only 10 terabytes of raw capacity, right? But we guarantee that if you have a database that it's 50 terabytes in size, you can move that database into the Pure Storage array with only 10 terabytes of raw capacity and no problem at all, right? I know it sounds crazy. Akbar is going to, yeah, it sounds really crazy, but Akbar is going to explain how that works.
But I was just saying that it still doesn't reduce the fact that NVMs will cost the price of regular SSD.
Right, you are right. But the price of solid state drive or flash is actually overlapping today. It's overlapping the price of mechanical hard drives, but high performance mechanical hard drives, like 15K RPM, right? Low performance mechanical hard drives are pretty much overlapping with a different technology in flash that uses what we call the QLC, and that's probably something that Akbar can talk about, or he won't. You will?
I don't have a slide, but I'll tell you.
Okay, so he will explain. So it's basically a cheaper flash media at the expense of a little bit less performance. It will still perform better than mechanical drives, but not as good as a full NVMe deployment. Okay, so but yes, but we have pretty much win from a performance standpoint against competitors that are using old flash, and we're also winning business against competitors that are proposing hybrid solutions where they mix mechanical with flash. So it makes a lot of sense for an enterprise tier 0 and tier 1 applications to run purely on flash, right? Because of fault tolerance, performance, and other capabilities that hardware is going to install. Okay? So, so when we size based on that data reduction, and that's what makes our solution more cost effective.
Kenneth,
Yeah.
just a quick question. In organizations where they have hot data and they have cold data, right? Would a fully flash-based solution be suitable for an organization like that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, it all depends on how you, on the workloads that you're going to put on the Pure Storage array, because the cold data is basically data that it's not changing, right? Let's say you take a backup, you have a backup, you have an image of your environment, you took that image with a backup software like Beam or Commvault or whatever, and you need a place to store that backup, right? So Pure is, as with any other flash technology, to put a backup in flash is expensive, right? You can put a backup in the cloud, which we provide access to, so our solutions are hybrid. You can offload snapshots to clouds, but that's a different story. But let's look at that in a different way, right? When we were talking about this during lunch, we were talking about Dave Chappelle and things, you know, the comedian, and how he manages to give you a different perspective on things, right? So think about it. Think about, I don't know, let's say that your business is a casino. You have a casino. You have an online gaming, online casino, right? And something crashes in your system. 1 second or 1 minute can represent thousands or millions of dollars when you're down, right? So in those type of enterprises, it makes sense to have everything in Flash, even if it's a backup, because in Flash, you can recover from a backup instantly, right? So now it makes sense. But if you're not on online gaming, you will probably can manage a few minutes of downtime, you know, when you are processing your backup, and so again, it all depends on the type of industry and the type of workload, okay?
The question is that the interface of the storage device.
These are NVRAM modules. This is where all the magic happens. But Hardware is going to show you the different interfaces, and is going to show you, you know, the protocols that we support, what's behind the controller, and you know, all the different interfaces. It's part of the technical presentation from Hardware.
I was thinking more along the lines of traditional storage devices, where at top level you could just pull a drive out, insert.
You'll be amazed by how we manage our fault tolerance, and Hardware is going over that, but you'll be amazed. We do crazy things, like some of what I've just explained, but from a hardware standpoint, how we swap components and everything. Everything's non-disruptive, and you're gonna love that. So, white glove support. Okay, well, first of all, I talked about Flat and Fair. The price will never change over time. Evergreen maintenance means that as long as you have a support subscription with Pure, all the components are protected. And this is different from other brands where they put, you know, little words where.
Drives are 1 year.
Exactly.
Control 3 years.
Exactly. If you write too much into a Flash media, it gets, you know, degradation, right? So other brands are going to tell you, we will guarantee that Flash module as long as you don't write X amount of times to it, or as long as you don't use it beyond 3 years or beyond 5 years. So they put you know, they have a way to continue their extortion, right? In Pure, as long as you have a support subscription.
Like tone that down a little. Just a little.
I know, it sounds like an extortion, it smells like an extortion, it tastes like an extortion, it is. Okay, that's, all right. So they'll always find a way to get you to the obsolete side of the technology so that you need to change and buy again. So we protect every single component for a lifetime. As long as you have a support subscription, doesn't matter how many times you write into that Flash module, you will be protected, okay? The other benefit is that we have white glove support, okay? So the support that we offer in Jamaica is 15 minutes of response time. And it is no different than what we offer to Facebook. It's no different than what we offer in New York City, right? So it's no difference at all. And I have this analogy. Facebook is across the street in front of Pure Storage headquarters. If something goes wrong in Facebook, no one from Pure walks across the street to get there, right? That ain't gonna happen, right? Because we have 1,180 telemetry sensors. We know what will happen before Facebook knows what will happen, right? And we will contact them proactively, right? And yes, we have spares on the island, we have field engineers on the island, but in 3 years, we have not had a single situation where we need to replace a part immediately. Everything has been proactively identified 6 months in advance. Yes.
So, Kenneth, are you actually saying that Minority Report's precognition is actually here?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And you know, to show you a little bit more about that. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Actually, let me just.
They have people in bots.
I'm gonna mirror my screen now. So if you can see This is my global access to the Pure Cloud, where we monitor every single array in the world, right? So if I type, I'm sorry, Facebook here, for example, this is where they predict the human behavior, right? So they know you're getting divorced in the next 6 months. They know you're cheating your wife, right? They know you're saving money to, you know, enlarge some parts of your body, right? So they know everything about, they know you better than yourself, okay? Why? Because they rely on Pure Storage to run their artificial intelligence and machine learning engines, right? Because they need speed, low latency. No other storage platform in the industry can offer better response from a support and architecture standpoint other than Pure. AT&T, for example, it's one of the largest customers. Here you have hundreds, 356 flash arrays in this data center, and you have data centers across the world, right? And who likes Formula One? I do. I know it's a man's thing, but so if I type Mercedes, there you go. There's the Mercedes Grand Prix. They're the champions this year. They've been for a few years now.
So Kenneth, how about football? Do you have any Manchester United?
We do.
Liverpool, Real Madrid?
Again, we're all over the place, right? And we have the first 4 Formula One teams are with Pure, right? In the past, when they were with a different brand, they were losing. It was not fair. Now you see Red Bull is getting closer to Ferrari or winning. They recently won in Brazil. They kicked, you know, Hamilton and Ferrari and all those, and that's because of our technology, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna spoil or continue to spoil what Outward is going to show.
I don't have any more slides.
I know this is going to cost me. I know. So sorry, I'm just jumping to a different presentation here. This is Outward's technical. Keep going. First line. Sorry. Okay, got it. So going back to Evergreen. So I talked about refreshing the technology every 3 years, and there are two more value-added propositions as part of the Evergreen, which is upgrade flex and capacity consolidation. So this happens when it's time to upgrade your array. Let's say you need more capacity. So let's say you bought 1 terabyte size flash modules into your array, and now you're changing for 2 terabyte size modules, so you will pretty much duplicate the capacity of the array. So we give you a credit for what you pay. You only pay the difference, and we ship out the new 2 terabyte modules. So we protect the initial investment all the time, okay? So doesn't matter if you're changing flash modules or you're moving away from an X10 to an X20 or from an X20 to an X50, we give you credit for what you pay, you only pay for the difference, so we protect the investment, okay? So that's all part of Evergreen, yes.
One of your partners, Cisco, which partnered with you for the converged infrastructure, do they work in tandem with what you are doing, or they are totally different in terms of the product?
Absolutely, that's a great question. The answer is yes, they work in tandem with Pure. We have not only a great alliance, but we have a product together that is called Flash Stack. It's a combination of Pure Storage and Cisco UCS, right? So you have native integration, and this will behave as an entirely converged infrastructure. So you will still use the same UCS manager or UCS director tools or any Cisco tool that you use to manage your UCS has an integration, native integration with Pure. But not only that, the support groups are also integrated. So in Pure, our engineers, and we have only 1 tier of engineers. You know why? because sometimes, you know, I worked 11 years for Dell EMC, 5 years between Compaq and Hewlett Packard, 6 years with Hewlett Packard Enterprise, so I know the other brands, okay? So what happens is that you call them and you create a support ticket, and then a guy arrives that knows everything, and he fixes everything in 5 seconds, and you're very happy, good to go, he leaves, and everybody's happy, right? But next time you create a support ticket, a new guy arrives, and he doesn't know exactly what's going on. He starts looking at the manual, asking you if this has happened before, and then the experience is different, right? It's not as good as the previous one. So we can eliminate that by having only one tier of engineering, which is the greatest inside our company. The same engineers serving Facebook and LinkedIn and AT&T, and the Formula One team is the same team serving Jamaica, right? First of all, it's the same team. And since we have the telemetry, we're capable of understanding way better than a human where is the problem or the situation that we need to fix, right? And with 6 months in advance. So there's no need to have that middleman sitting there trying to figure out stuff when you have 1,180 telemetry sensors telling you it's this, right? So we eliminate that. So the Pure Storage engineers are certified in Cisco, right? The Cisco engineers are certified in Pure. So if you think you have an issue with your network, and it happens that they need to look into your Pure Storage array, they don't have to kick you off that call and bring Pure Storage in, because they can do that in the same call. They can bring the Pure Storage engineer if they need to, but they are certified to work with the Pure Storage array and vice versa. So it's integrated, not just from a hardware and software standpoint, but also the support groups.
That's one. I appreciate that. That's one. We already have some Cisco servers.
Good.
Pretty much all flash Cisco servers, and we're gonna move towards this custom system here.
Beautiful.
Could we integrate what we have already with the hyperconverged system?
Absolutely. You can integrate what you currently have with the Pure Storage array, and then turn that into a converged architecture. Yeah, the answer is yes. You don't need to buy everything new. All you need is the Pure Storage platform to turn your UCS architecture into a flash stack, which is what we call the the combination.
Oh, that's such a big performance.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a big performance.
Oh, and it affects performance in a very positive way. Because whatever you have in your existing environment, I guarantee you it's going to be 4 times faster, but in reality, in the practice, it's going to be 10 times faster, right? So Pure has been designed to consolidate everything in Pure because of our technology. Audra is going to explain that. So
It's not the older, it's not the legacy servers that is pulling back your server. Actually, your servers feeding back.
to give you the technical detail, for example, when you have servers that are slow, right? And because you have a slow storage platform, you replace that storage platform with Pure. In most cases, we can give you 30% of better clock speed in the processing power of the servers. That same servers, you're not doing anything else, because we're alleviating most of the work, right, associated to slow storage platforms, and we are liberating those resources into the compute side of the story. So now, same servers, you just change the storage platform, things are going to be real fast.
So with the NVMe, with the NVMe, are you able to have direct memory access?
Right, I
Yeah.
guess.
So operating so if you have direct memory access, it means that operating the Pure Storage is the same as operating in RAM,
Pretty much,
pretty much.
pretty much.
Usually the fastest memory
Pretty
on
much.
the system.
Yep. Yep. And you can consolidate all the workloads. So there's no longer the need of having a purpose-built system for a specific workload. Because we can consolidate every single workload in Pure because we have something called variable block size, which Artwork will explain. All right? I have one more thing that I want to show you. I have already summarized the value proposition for Evergreen, right? And remember when I talked to you about the telemetry, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we identify that there's an issue with your SQL database. So your SQL database is above 1 millisecond
Hold on,
latency.
you just said something. So Pure can identify issues with even solutions that are not Pure based.
That's correct. The telemetry goes beyond the Pure Storage array. We can identify if a transceiver in your switch, which is outside of the Pure Storage array, is dirty. And we will call you, and we will tell you, look for this transceiver, you know, unplug it, clean it, plug it back, and we're good to go. Flimsy cables, we identify that. HBAs that are not working properly in the host, we identify that. Slow database, if you have a slow database, we can identify that there's a slow database in our environment. We will contact you proactively to understand why.
Yes.
Maybe you forgot to patch the SQL database with a recommended Microsoft patch, and we give you the recommendation, you patch the SQL, you fix the problem.
Hold on. You provide the recommendations? I think
We provide a recommendation, and then you patch the system, and we create what it's called a fingerprint. So a fingerprint will have metadata describing what just happened. What we need this for is to throw it in our cloud and look for candidates that can suffer the same issue, and we will contact them proactively before it actually happens. All right? So the last thing I want to show you, and it's a quick video. It actually represents a good example on how important latency is, right? And it's the Formula One. The car has 350 telemetry sensors, right? And all that information from the car goes to the data center in the same racetrack. It goes to the data center. And they have a machine learning, AI, and engines that are predicting what's going to happen in the race, right? And then that prediction will generate a report that the chief engineering technician will use to make business decisions, right? Like tell Hamilton to go inside a pit because we need to change the left front tire because it won't last 2 more laps, or whatever it is, the decision that we need to make.
So unrelated question. NASCAR uses this technology, or just Mercedes and Ferrari?
No, it's pretty much, well, I've seen this technology being used in NASCAR, in drag strips,
Okay.
in Formula One, in motocross. It's all over the place.
It is amazing. I will tell you that previously, back in the day, and you should have, can I mention?
Main challenges these days from IT is actually trying to keep up with technology. Yeah, whether that will be storage, file services, video data, SQL databases, virtualization. This year we have a standard telemetry stack that every team uses the same telemetry. So we have 300 or 400 sensors on the car. All the information comes back live into the garage across that standardized telemetry. The particular issue we had was that we put performance storage at the track, and everybody came back to the factory and all complained that the factory was a slower environment. It was poor. And we said, right, we'll give ourselves an 18 months window and we'll turn around and make a decision on how we actually transform what we do with storage. If I had to describe Pure in 3 words, it would be simplicity, performance and support. They came to site and within 4 hours it was out of boxes, rack stacked and ready to use. Once we got it in, our next problem was actually what are the most important things now for it to go in, because we were seeing advances and improvements in solutions which we weren't expecting. Once we started using it, our only problem now is actually working out what data to put on there first, second, third, and actually how slow it was to get it off the old storage. Not because of where it's going, but the old storage was so slow. At the track, for instance, we've gone from over 44U of storage requirement down to 2U units, and we've increased our performance, and we've increased the capacity that we've got available. Everything is just faster, better. We're actually getting to the point now where we've upgraded our storage, our servers, our networking. We're now beginning to make the client, the laptop, is actually the bottleneck in the solution. With the Pure Storage that's underneath our services tracking factory, that's helping us as well as the team perform.
So density is another important point. So as you can see, they did change 44 U's of the old storage. Just they changed it for 2U rack units, right? Today we deliver 1.7 petabytes of usable capacity in just 3 rack units. So that's pretty much with that. I'm gonna leave you with artwork.
You want to say something? Oh, any question? Yeah.
Well, everyone, I'm sure you have a better understanding of the commercial space or commercial presence of Pure. Ultimately, I think for all the techies that are in the room, we're about to delve a bit more into the intricacies of the solution and ultimately what makes it technically sound and technically superior to everything else that's out there. So with that, we'll actually have Odwar and he'll go through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. How? Good? You are asleep? Wake up?
No, wait. No, you can tell us that we can kill Golden Gate.
Yeah, so actually, I don't have too much
No, we can't
slides
kill Golden
left.
Gate. No?
Can I also already cover like half of my presentation? I only have like 90 slides, so let's start. My name is Ortiz. I don't know where my name came from. I got it, invented it. It's in Puerto Rico. I work alongside Kenneth. We are in charge of Central America and the Caribbean region. And I used to work for companies like Sun Microsystems, later Oracle, and Pure Storage. And I'm in charge of in everything related to the technical perspective, system engineer. But I don't want to take too much time for you guys. I'm not gonna go too deep in how we do. I'm gonna explain what we do, and if you have any question that if you want me to elaborate on something, I'll be here after the presentation. So just ask me. So first, what makes Pure different? There's like 1,000 things. I'm not gonna cover all. I'm just gonna cover the most significant. And the first one, even though Kenneth already mentioned that, and even though it may sound something simple, something very special and unique about Pure is that we are not a retrofit. So what is a retrofit? When you look to the all-flash storage technologies of other brands, even though they all say that they are they have the latest technology in flash, the latest innovation, when you go deep down in the technology in terms of the operating system, the back end of the array, the architecture of the controllers, how the information is being read and written from the array, they are all the same hybrid hard disk drive based storage. It's the same operating system. They only added some lines of code to allow flash media, being able to read and write flash media. But actually those operating systems are the same from the last 10 years. Currently, Pure is the only unique technology that from scratch, the operating system and the hardware was created for flash. So, if you compare something that is actually being forced to accept a media versus something that it was created to first solve all the flash issues, because flash is not magic, it's a very, very sensitive technology, but also explode at its maximum performance. Now, only by looking at that, we started seeing some difference. So what makes Pure unique? Well, first, Pure is what we call a software-defined storage technology. So by doing that, we don't have any dependency with the hardware, physical hardware. So actually, I remember John Colebrook, which is our founder, during a presentation, he explained that actually the hardware is not Pure. Hardware Pure is not defined by the hardware. What defines Pure as an entity where your data is going to be there is the software. So what allows that us? First, everything in Pure is hot pluggable. You don't need like a special command. You don't need a special engineer from the vendor to replace anything. You want or need to change a flash module, a controller, an NVRAM module, a power supply, a fan. Everything is not disrupted hot plug. So if something fails and needs to be replaced, it's only take the old one out, put the new one. I remember Kenneth mentioned this NVRAM modules. I want to cover that. We have as I mentioned before, everything in Pure is created, architected, and manufactured by Pure. So the basic component, and one of the reasons that we said we are a modular architecture is that if you compare to other brands, if something fails, they may go and change the exact part, the CPU, the RAM, maybe a fan. But what we do to maintain a level of simplicity is that everything is based on modules. We have NVRAM modules, we have flash modules, we have controller modules. So if something fails, it's just taking one complete component and not have the complexity of or to go that deep down technical. So NVRAM modules are almost like, I call them like the heart of the technology. And what they do is that these are custom created modules by Pure, in which we have a DDR4 memory cache, like the controllers, but inside those modules, we have supercapacitor bank and flash memory, which is non-volatile. So what they do is that all the IOPS that are coming from the host, they are like a landing zone. They arrive to the cache of the controllers, and in microseconds, they are mirrored to the NVRAM modules. So in case of a power failure, somebody comes and pull up the power cords, the data is going to be in two redundant modules, and those modules, the supercapacitors, are able to provide up to 10 minutes of power. So by doing that, we don't need batteries that need sometimes to be replaced, and also we guarantee that even though if there's a major power failure, the processes and data that were occurring in that specific moment will not be lost. Secondly, the second reason, and very important for this model, is that Pure currently is the only solution that actually has two reduction processes. We have one inline when the data is coming from the host, and a second one, we call it processing, that is executed when the data is already in the flash mode. So in the inline process, the inline process runs on top of the NVRAM models. The average reduction ratio is 3:1. So what that means, we reduce data 3 times before writing to the flash models. So actually we hit 3 times less any flash model in the array if we are compared to other vendors. That's why our flash models don't fail as any other brand. Understood?
So you're saying that it's compressed already before it's written?
Yeah. It's reduced.
It's reduced.
I use the word reduced because it's actually 4 algorithms. It's compression, deduplication, pattern removal, and zero removal.
All right. So in some architecture, certain size cache, we need to have inline duplication and a reduction of a certain value. Now, is that something variable in your machines, or is that just a standard size that works?
Yeah, actually 2 is for the lower level models, and the high end they use for NVIDIA model.
Okay.
That was the question.
Yeah. That.
Perfect. So by being software defined, we are also capable to do other things. We can replace controllers non-disruptively. So when we call that we are an architecture non-disruptive, everything is that actually everything is non-disruptive. You can replace controllers, replace flash models, upgrade a full version of the operating system, and you will never see performance degradation. Your latency is always going to be less than 1 millisecond. You will not see your bandwidth drop, anything. The architecture is created for that. And why we mention that? Because if you look other technologies, they are not designed for flash. And for example, if you lose one controller, you have a 50% performance degradation. But in Pure, that doesn't happen. Other benefit of software-defined storage is how we are able to scale. If you look into a traditional storage array or technology, and when I say traditional storage, it's all the other brands, even though for their flash technologies. The way that you grow in those technologies, let's say you acquire the smallest array. Let's say this is not Pure, this is a 3-letter brand. And if you acquire this system and you hit those 55 terabytes, and you need to grow over that amount, what will happen in that other brand?
Yeah, the scale up. That means that they add more, or you can scale out. That they add a completely new strategy.
Okay, so you need or add more controllers on top of the current ones, which is additional cost, support, power, space, or certainly what they're going to do is they're going to sell you the next model because this one is not capable to grow more, and you will need to migrate all the data and all the complexity and the risk. In Pure, what defines performance and capacity is the resources of the controllers. So actually, this model, the chassis, the MRAM models, and the flash are exactly the same as this one. What defines performance is the controls. But because as I have already told, because everything is non-disrupted in Pure, you can actually replace controller without any performance degradation. If you want to grow in Pure, it's actually replacing your current controller with the one you want to go. So if you want to go to the X50, Pure sells you the controllers, the X50. Certainly depend. It will give you a credit for the old ones. They will arrive to your data center, replace one controller, replace the second controller, no downtime. You don't need to download that, shut down your application, you don't need to reboot, do a rezoning, stuff like that. And by doing a very simple process, you will convert your current model to the next one, reusing your chassis, your RAM model. You don't need to do a migration of data. But that's not only for the current family. So actually our chassis are designed to support multiple generations of flash. So as an example, the previous family we are currently on the flash array XR2, release 2. So previously was the XR1 and the M family. So 6 years ago, when we launched the M family, those arrays, those chassis were already NVMe ready. So if you were a customer that 6 years ago bought a flash array M, and today you say, I want to convert my array to NVMe technology, you don't need to acquire a new array. You only modernize the current one. And that's happened with all the versions. This one is already SSD, it is NVMe, but internally it's already the next generation of flash technology. That's how we guarantee 10 years of life of the chassis. Question? Good. Other benefit of being software defined is that a failure of component, they don't impact the performance, they don't impact availability. Currently, we monitor all our plus 16,000 arrays in real time. And in Pure, we guarantee 6 nines of availability. But anyone on their white papers and the presentation say that they guarantee 6 nines availability. The big difference is that for Pure, an array that is its performance in terms of latency is over 1 millisecond, for us, that array is in a non-available state. So when we say that we guarantee 6 nines of availability, is that none of our arrays spend more than 31 seconds with a latency, a sustained latency over 1 millisecond. It's not that they're being down and they have a major failure. It's actually, when we say 31 seconds, is that only 31 seconds a year, the array will not provide less than 1 millisecond. That's something that actually no other brands is capable to do. Performance. I always love to show this. Something that, even though it sounds simple and all vendors say the same, we always like to explain that something very unique in Pure is that we guarantee consistency in performance. But what is consistent in performance? Well, consistent in performance is that our arrays are designed to sustain any kind of failure and never have a degradation. Always less than 1 millisecond latency, depending on the model, less than 250 microseconds latency. But when we say no matter what is, our arrays could be on 100% utilization in capacity and performance, your current model. You can lose one full controller, you can lose 2 flash drive, you can lose a power supply, an NVRAM model, a fan, and it will keep giving you less than 1 millisecond latency. It is designed, it is architected that way. And why we mention that? Because of the next slide. This is a table that this is a print screen from a document of other brand. I don't want to say the brand. You may guess it by the colors. This table is taken from a availability document from that brand, and this is from that brand latest all-flash, large, more performing equipment based on their data sheet. What's the problem of this equipment? This table is the failure scenarios of that all-flash latest version of technology. All those retrofit architecture are not designed to sustain failures. So actually, in this brand, in this flash array, if you want to be sure that a failure will not impact performance, you only are able to use 50% of the resources of the array. So you're paying for something that actually you have one consistent performance, never dream about using 70, 90% of performance. Why? Why 50%? Because it's a very simple answer. If they lose one controller, you lose 50% of the resources. And if the utilization keeps increasing, don't use snapshots, don't use replication, take care of compression, take off compression. So all the things that we do always on, just like that, and we keep doing even though a failure, they're actually not even closer to be capable of doing that.
So essentially, that solution, would it be a case where they would either want to mirror on the same device what is happening on the other side?
And the active cluster exam?
Yeah.
So can you repeat the question, sorry?
No, I'm just saying that, if it's a case where they give you the same essential, because they are saying that, hey, we can give you the same thing while you're storing.
They're gonna say that.
Right? But if you go beyond 50% use, then we can't guarantee, or is it that?
No,
we can't
us?
No, I'm just talking about the.
They will not guarantee that.
They will not guarantee.
Ask them.
So once you go past it, then you're on your own essential.
It's just, you know what you can do? Ask.
I know which company.
Yeah, but just ask them that you want reading that they will guarantee that at 100% of utilization, the array will not degrade if a failure. They will never give you that. Encryption. Even though we guarantee no performance degradation, our arrays are all the time encrypting data, 256 feet compliant. Reduction. Actually, we have the best reduction architecture.
Hold on. Is the encryption turned on by default?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, everything in Pure is always on. Why? We don't need to turn it off because there's no degradation. The reason other brands, they allow you to turn on maybe on by a volume bias, compression, deduplication, is that in those technologies, if you turn on compression, you will see a degradation in lattice. If you turn on encryption, more degradation.
When you use like virtual thin clients, do you still have compression transit?
Yeah, we do. We actually achieve 7.2 to 1 reduction without contemplating thin provision, snapshot cloning, pure reduction for thin client. And data still encrypted.
Right, so all data is by default is encrypted at rest.
Yeah, all the time. And without the performance degradation. Remember, always one of our guarantees are less than 1 millisecond average latency. Or if it's NVMe, it's less than 250 microseconds. Reduction, actually we have the best reduction in the industry. It's an average is 5 to 1 without contemplating thin provisioning, neither compactation and other things that other brands contemplate. If we contemplate thin provisioning, our average is 12 to 1. Why we mention that is because I've encountered other brands that goes to you or prospect or current customer and say, you know what, I can do 7 to 1, 8 to 1, 15 to 1.
Right.
But when you go deep down on the technical aspect, what variables are there including in that calculation of reduction, they contemplate thin provisioning, snapshot cloning, or technologies like compactation that are actually not algorithms to reduce data. Those are algorithms to have better efficiency in terms of how you use your capacity, but they don't actually reduce your what's the outcome? These are current customers, and we see this a lot in the field, like 5 full racks. This is a hybrid array, flash and drive. This is the high end of that brand. Believe me, this is a couple $1 million. 6 rack units. 6 rack units, 10 times performance. It changed depending on the customer, but for this specific customer, the application performance increased 10 times.
Right, so something in the Caribbean, and I know this is really a function of proper design of server rooms and so forth. You do have unreliable electricity, and flash is really friendly with heavy currents and so forth. So do you have technologies inside there to mitigate?
Part of that is the MVRAM models and other technologies. But actually we have arrays in any kind of environment with non-stable power infrastructure, and we haven't encountered any. So yeah, the technology is there. important, I don't know if I mentioned before, we are the only technology that currently has two reduction processes. One inline, one post-processing, after the data is already been read in the flash mode. And what's the purpose of that? Actually, in Pure, and remember, we are the only ones that currently have two reduction processes. All the rest is only inline. So in Pure, actually, by upgrading the operating system, one version to another, you free up space of your array. Because the reason to have a secondary process of reduction data is because every time we launch a new version of the OS, we optimize the current reduction algorithm or we rewrite it. So for example, in Purity, which is our operating system for that 10 to 5, after the customer upgrades the rate, they're free up to 20% of data. And from version 5 to 5.1, they free up 25% of on top of those 20. So the reason to have a second reduction process is to keep freeing up and giving a longer lifespan of your investment. We say it's a post-processing, but it's a different process. For example, we do compression, but we don't use only one algorithm of compression. We actually use 10. So in Pure, and this is something that any other brand do, we are going in real time, reading the blocks, and we are changing through algorithm, and the array is able to define which of the 10 compression algorithms will give better compressions for that kind of data. So that's how we are able to have double the reduction of any other brand in the industry. This is an example of a current customer, Marriott in Puerto Rico. This customer in June 2008, they called us because they wanted to acquire more flash. They have some projects, and in that moment the rate was like 80% utilization. And the space left that time was 34 terabytes of capacity. When I connected to Pure One and validated the current environment, I noticed that they have old versions for that 10, and we are already in 5.2. So our answer to that customer was, you don't need to spend more money, you only need to upgrade the array. And by doing a simple upgrade that is non-disrupted and is completely done by Pure engineers, it's not magic. It's not that it's gonna see the outcome the next day, but after 2 months, and this customer never deleted data, the space utilization went down that he achieved 74 of free capacity just by upgrading the operating system, not acquiring more flash, no more money. Questions? Protection. We are actually capable to do active clustering. I don't know if you have any question. I know Kenneth answered some of the question, but if you have any additional question, I'll be able to answer.
No, I think you already, if we can go the gate.
Okay. So yeah, go thank you. Okay, so we have active cluster. There's some value, no additional cost. It's actually a true active cluster configuration. And why we call it cluster? Because in our approach, one host has active paths to the local array and to the DR array. And those paths are looking the same volume. So if something fails here, the RTO is zero. Other brands, they have active path to the local array and standby or failover path to the other one. Or maybe they have active, but they don't have the Pure One cloud, which is the mediators. Or they don't have the capability define where, in which array the volumes are gonna keep online. So, even though the other brands do something like active cluster, there's some drawbacks in terms of you need to license something, pay something, you will not have active, you will need to have a third side to implement a mediator, something like that. In Pure, everything's included in this super cost. Snapshots. Actually, our snapshot technology is very interesting. We have something which is called crash consistent. What does it mean? Our snapshots validate the right order when they are taken, and they are creating in real time. So you will not see second and minutes for creating snapshots. And in Pure, you can save those snapshots locally to another Pure array, to another brand using NFS shares. Or if you have a very cheap cloud storage service, you can point the array and create policies to save those snapshots in a public cloud provider.
And what's the SMB version we use?
Sorry?
SMB. What's the SMB version?
No, only NFS. Not SMB, NFS. It will come, but right now it's only NFS. CloudSnap is currently available for Amazon and Azure. Because our array validate the right order, we can do some stuff using snapshot that other brands they can. For example, our snapshot data have dependencies with other snapshots. If you create a volume from a snapshot, that volume will not have any dependencies from that snapshot or from the volume the snapshot was created. You can actually create a volume from a snapshot, delete that snapshot, and you will not lose the volume. You will not have performance degradation. To copy environments, we have a customer that before Pure Storage, updating data was an Oracle environment. Updating data from production just to prepare the environment was 4 hours. Not to execute the whole process, just prepare the environment. To upgrade QA and development from production was 4 hours. Currently, they're doing it in 90 seconds. Why? Because snapshots in Pure are crash consistent. So actually, you can take a snapshot in Oracle from production. It will not impact production, and take that snapshot and apply it to the volumes of the QA and development environment, and those environments will not have a crash.
Question on
Yes.
So someone is actually asking the fact that we actually have a cloud and we can offload the snapshots to the cloud. Where is the cloud actually located? Is it located on the US side, Canada?
No, that we use other cloud vendors. We don't have like a cloud where. So if you have a AWS object storage service or Azure blob storage,
Yes.
you can say through our GUI, you know what? This is my target service. Let's say after 1 week, all the snapshots move it to the cloud. You will manage everything locally. There's a snapshot catalog, but the benefit is that if you want to have a long-term retention policy of snapshots, those snapshots will not occupy your flash technology, which is not cheap. They will be on a very cheap archiving storage service.
Right. So I'm assuming that you have
Thank you.
you have either the Azure Marketplace or Amazon. You have a Pure application.
Mhm.
And you need to purchase from here.
No, the application runs in the array. To move the snapshot?
And the thing is,
Sorry?
I mean, it's connected to S3 or
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you don't need to purchase something from the marketplace.
Well, the storage service, maybe a block storage or
Oh, I mean like a pure.
we have a pure appliance, but for CloudSnap, the logic runs in the array. So the arrays are able to speak those cloud, let's say language.
Oh, so you can directly connect.
Exactly. We truly believe in the clouds, so we already have some integration with clouds. I already explained Cloud Snap that allows you to save snapshots or have a long-term retention of snapshots on the clouds. But we also have something that we call high cloud block storage. So cloud block storage is a virtual appliance of our operating system running on top of the cloud. Currently, it's on top of Amazon, and it will come, I think.
Do you get decimals?
Huh?
That you need to have.
Sorry. So what can you do? Let's say you have a current array. You want to implement a DR site, but you don't have a physical site, or you want to have another zone outside the island. You can run a pure virtual appliance on top of Amazon or Azure. It will have the same reduction, encryption, everything. The only that we will not guarantee is performance because it's a external infrastructure. But you can say, you know what, this array, I'm gonna replicate it, that array in public cloud. So if something fails, your data, your volumes, everything is gonna be there. Actually, we can do stuff like that. We can do like maybe active locally, and from that active cluster configuration, send an asynchronous replication to a third site on Azure or Amazon. Of course, you will need to pay the physical resources of the cloud, the storage, the instance where it runs, but there's some value because, for example, if your current environment has a 5-to-1 reduction ratio, you will have the same reduction ratio in the cloud. So if you have currently on-premise 50 terabytes of data, you will not need to pay 50 terabytes in the cloud. You will always need to pay 10 terabytes because that's actually how much data is going to be there. Because the value of the technology is our operating system, which is running on top of the cloud. Now, we have some patented technologies that actually allows us have up to 3 times, depending on the applications. But for example, Oracle, we have Oracle running on any flash array. You move it to the Pure Storage, and we have a 3x better performance. The link will tell you that it's the same brute force flash is flash, but we have some technology that we created to overcome some retrofit technologies, bottlenecks that allow us, even though using the same physical hardware, have better performance. And this is one that I always like to explain. It's kind of technical, but it's very important to allow you understand why Pure is better. If you look at any IT environment, what you will find is a very non-homogeneous environment. There are 100,000 of applications, and each application, the way they write and read data is different. The vendor who created and developed the application select a specific block size or a size of data that will give that application the best performance. For example, SQL Server, 64K. Oracle is like a giant monster. Depending on the components, is 128K. For example, Redux is a sequential write, so any large block size. Data file is 16K, 8K, so it's depending. So at the end, when you look at the flow of data that is being read into the array, it's a very heterogeneous environment. It's 1,000 and millions of blocks of different sizes. And that creates a huge problem for all the retrofit technologies. Why? If you look at the retrofit old flash array, all older brands, the way they work is that when the array is configured and when that array is put first time, it will take those physical drive, create a parity, and format with a specific block size, which is called a fixed block size backend. That's a huge problem in terms of performance. Why? Because any IT department is capable to standardize the block size of their application. It's a very heterogeneous environment. And the problem is like this. This is a traditional array. Let's say I have an application running data 4K. And this model, this flash model, that brand it's fixed backend 4K. If the application is running the same size of the array, it will be optimized, it will be fast, no performance degradation, no bottlenecks, nothing, because I'm in sync with the array optimized size. But what happens when another application starts to write data on a different block size? 8K. That technology is not able to get one block and process and do the compression, the duplication, and write it to the disk. He needs to cut it up to his specific block size, and after that, start doing the compression and duplication part. So that's a bottleneck that starts increasing. But this is only 3 blocks. Imagine a 32K blocks. So that technology needs to get that block that is coming from the host, cut it out in pieces to be in sync with his fixed backend, and after that, do all the processing in terms of compression, duplication, parity, compactation. Those are thousands of extras overhead that at the end, we have an application waiting for that. And this is a 34K SQL Service 64. Imagine millions of IOPS that need to wait for that bottleneck. What we did is, I don't know how they did it in reality, but Pure actually, we don't have a file system fixed. We have a data repository which is based in pointers and metadata. So by doing that, we are able to process any IOP size on a variable and dynamic way. So I have application writing a 4K, no problem. I will take that IOP in one instruction and process. If I have another application writing a 12K, I will not need to convert it to my fixed size. In one instruction, I will apply compression, I will apply duplication, and write the data. The overhead that all those technologies, that's why they are not able to scale in performance, we don't have. This is actually a patented functionality. Probably there's any other technology in the market. And for your question, why we can, using the same servers or maybe same technology, allow our customer have better performance, because we have technologies like this that any other brands currently have.
Is that software-driven architecture?
These are software technology.
So what you're saying is that you could have several nodes on there with different variable block sizes.
Actually, this was created to overcome this bottleneck, have better performance, but also have simplicity. Why? Because our array, it will variably and dynamically modify itself for the size that is coming from the host. So actually in Pure, when you create a volume, you don't need to define the block size because it's transparent.
Okay, so you don't need to segment different nodes.
No.
And say node 1, 4 block, 4K,
No.
node 2, 8. They don't need to do that.
No. So
Okay.
actually we are able to read and write segment as small as 512 bits all the way up, any size. Question? Okay. Understood this part?
Yeah. That's cool.
It's very cool, yeah. I'm almost finishing. We have something which is called our Pure One. Pure One is our public analytics cloud that monitor all our arrays. Pure One is very interesting. We actually have since our first array was installed, all our arrays are sending telemetry to the cloud. When we talk about telemetry, it's not customer data, it's just sensor data. Currently, we have 10 petabytes of 10 years of historic data. Out of those 10 petabytes, we have a ton of AI and machine learning algorithms that are monitoring the arrays in real time. And they have been evolving so much that we are now capable of predicting a hardware failure 6 months ahead of the program. But it goes even further. Do you remember the Matrix movie? Everybody knows Matrix trilogy, right? So do you remember when the real humans were looking at the Matrix and there were like green symbols downloading, and for normal people was just strange symbols. But for a person who worked years looking at the same symbol, he was capable to see a woman, a dog, a house, a building. Our AI have evolved so much that actually our Pure One cloud, just by looking at the telemetry, is capable to know if, for example, a volume, the data residing in that volume is a Oracle, is an SQL. Because if you look the low levels, each application, they have the same pattern. Oracle, the way it reads and writes data, is the same for all the exchange is the same, SQL is the same. So what are we able to do? Let's say in your current array, you have a SQL server that is hitting 0.8 milliseconds of latency. The AI, for example, is capable to evaluate and determine if, let's say, from our 16,000 arrays, 1,000 have your same array, same software version, and from those 1,000, 500 have your same workload. The pattern is defined as that is a SQL server. If the average latency of those 500 is 0.2 milliseconds, Pure One will proactively create a service request. And it's gonna send you an email stating like, Mr. Customer, you are fine, you are under the 1 millisecond guarantee, but we think, we are pretty sure that you are able to achieve better performance because the other 500 arrays that looks like they have the same workload, they have 0.2, and support team is going to contact you. They may ask you for a web session, validate your network, your SaaS environment, maybe tweaking parameters to allow you to achieve that level of performance. Actually, there is many other technology currently in the industry that's capable to do that. I think things like support send an email to the customer that the cable of fiber channel cable is there, or there's a wrong configuration in the SAN switch. It's capable the AI is capable to detect. Internally, we actually have a measurement that 80% of the cases in Pure support are created from support from Pure to the customer. Only 20% is created from the customer to Pure. I will bet if you found any other brand that's capable to do that. I'm pretty sure not. Why? Because they are retrofit. Yeah, they are not creating for this era.
Now, the word Annexus means bringing together. And our entire business model surrounds bringing different solutions together to solve organizational needs. Now, that word for me is one of the reasons why I'm actually with this company. Because I believe that everything we do represents or heart, and the at or heart is solving the business and customers' needs. Now, Annexus started in 2012. We were started in the United States by a group of IT-centric individuals who realized that there is a specific need and niche for specialized services for solutions within the US. Now, eventually, we wanted to offset or extend a lot of those services to other markets. Jamaica being one of the markets that the company saw significant potential in growing. So we established our operations here in Jamaica in 2014, and since then we've been doing a considerable amount of projects. One of the things that the company invested in heavily prior to even starting our projects was ensuring that we had trained resources on staff to support those projects. And a significant amount of money was invested in ensuring that everyone is trained properly prior to even us trying to sell a single box or a solution, right? So that's as it relates to how we started, and we've been operating in Jamaica since 2014, and our initiative since then has been to grow our business from strength to strength. So our mission and vision surrounds using our skill sets, using our wealth of experience and knowledge, cumulatively over 35 years of experience among our team, to try and grow and expand the service offering here in Jamaica to focus on specialized solutions that address and solve specific business needs. And at the core of those business needs, most importantly, I believe, is to improve efficiency in some way that can provide some monetary benefit to those entities or organizations. Now, some of the services that we provide include, we do network assessments, network intrusion assessments, compliance report generation. We will go into each of these services on our technical presentation, which will be done by Andrew Griffiths. Business continuity, disaster recovery, data center design, general IT implementations. We do IT consultancy, desktop virtualization solutions. Those are some of our main tenets in terms of the services that we provide. Now, these are our partners, or enablers. These entities allow us to reach you in a meaningful way to address not just one area of the organization, but multiple areas of the organization. I think an IT-centric individual or position, to me, in my mind, is one of the most dynamic professions. You do not just interact with technology, but you interact with all the agents that technology relies on. The administration areas of your companies, the finance area of your companies, the HR area of your companies, in addition to executive and management. So your idea, your understanding, not just from IT, but how IT supports business, to me, is a discipline that every IT professional should have, right? Now, I know a lot of these partnerships, some persons would already be aware of. APC represents Cisco, Comscope, Dell, Dell EMC, Fortinet, ISS, NEC, OnCam, Palo Alto, Ruckus, Pure Storage, quite a few. Now, I know quite a few of these entities many persons may not necessarily be familiar with, and that's because each individual strategic alliance meets and solves specific business needs. So we don't just sell or represent brands that are generally represented by most IT companies. We look at niche areas, niche brands, and Pure being one have associated with us for this event, right? We can go as deep as you want into any one of those specific brands, but our main objective is just to try and have as broad a coverage as possible in terms of all the possible areas of businesses that we would probably need to address through technology, right?
No, it is not. Essentially, what it represents is us partnering with our clientele. Right? So it's more of a handshake.
Now, it's definitely our team that allows us to do what we do. Chief of our local operations is Andrew Griffiths. Business development, our technical services manager is Richard Hamilton, who is unavoidably absent. He's traveling on projects. Barrington Williams, he's here. Mark, Thomas, Michael, Grant, and Melvin Davidson. So that's the team of people that allow us to do what we do here locally. And we're, as I said before, we're located both here in Jamaica and also in the US. So that's basically Annexus in a nutshell. A summarized version of Annexus. So thank you for your time.
Best presentation.
Get away, Anwar. You're not giving points for that.
Andrew got beat. 2 minutes, Andrew.
Right?
Right. Alright. So hi again, everyone. So I'm not gonna give you any redundant information per se, because this slide actually goes over pretty much what John and I went over. But what I'm gonna focus more on is around some of the services and solutions that we actually offer. So first off, network assessment. Many people don't necessarily understand that, hey, many clients have many different issues, and when it is that you are first engaging with a client, how do I know what your pain points are? So essentially, an assessment of your network actually allows us to basically see exactly what is actually going on your network, so that we can actually, I would say, have a better understanding of what your issues are, because many times, and I mean, everyone has interacted with a doctor, so they understand, right? A lot of times we see the symptoms, and many times we treat the symptoms, but not actually the root problem. And essentially, when it is that you are just focusing on the symptoms, you never actually get to the root problem. So essentially, you're always fixing the same symptom over and over and over again. And to me, that's a waste of time, right? So we actually focus on, one, ensuring that we have the necessary information that is relative to your environment, presenting it to you in a palatable manner. Of course, not overly technical, right? It's dependent on who our clientele are, whether it be an executive level or a technical manager, so to speak. But then actually ensuring that we have a plan of action, so to speak. So one is identifying the issues, the other one is identifying a plan to actually resolve each of these issues. And sometimes one solution will fix all the problems, whereas sometimes you have to actually prioritize and look at which ones actually have a greater impact on your network and ultimately how you want to go about fixing it, right? So we look at things squarely from that standpoint. It's not a cookie cutter solution. We don't look at it like that. We want to understand you, and we want to create a tailored solution, a solution tailored to your needs, right? So that's the purpose of the network assessment. And of course, it depends on the size of your network, but we have our team that will come in, do whatever it is, whether it be to snoop the network, go speak to the individuals from a social engineering standpoint to better understand what policies are actually in place from a business as well as a technical standpoint. The next one, of course, is a network intrusion assessment. Everyone, I don't know if anyone have actually been affected by like a ransomware or spyware or anything of the sort, but essentially a lot of those tactics are really, they're taking advantage of your network. They're taking advantage of the holes that are actually within your network. So when it is that we come in and do a network assessment, a part of that is going deeper to actually find out, okay, what actual protocols do you actually have on your network? How are they actually behaving or interacting with each other internally within your network as well as the internet itself? And in many cases, even looking at the firewall as well. So we already told you that Pure Storage is actually a next generation storage platform, but you also have next generation firewalls, you have next generation switches, you have next generation components of the network. Because essentially we are looking at an environment that is software defined data center. Storage is one aspect of it, firewall is another aspect of it, switch is another aspect of it. So we try to focus on every aspect of the OSI layer. And of course, the network intrusion assessment is very integral to that. The other one is from a compliance report generation. So essentially for clients that actually have follow PCI, HIPAA, or any of the other NIST or any of the other international models, so to speak, we actually can provide to you, after we do the assessment, recommendations and tailor it according to the respective, I would say the respective, how can I say it? The respective policies that exist internationally, right? And we ensure that you adhere to all the respective policies accordingly. From a business continuity disaster recovery perspective, and for me personally, this is a hot topic because we are in a hurricane belt essentially, and Jamaica has not been hit in a while. And we all know that when that happens, when it does hit, it's terrible. So for us, we focus on more being proactive instead of reactive, and actually putting in the necessary infrastructure to protect your data as it pertains to any data loss or even business loss, so to speak. You know, we focus on not just ensuring that your data gets over to the next side, but actually ensuring that it's highly available, highly scalable, and you can connect to it anytime and anywhere, depending on no matter what the situation calls for. And really and truly, many people don't understand that there's a difference between disaster recovery and business continuity. You know, disaster recovery is just essentially ensuring that you get all your data over to the next side, or critical data over to the next side, whereas business continuity focuses on actual business operation continuation, which is totally different. One is getting your data over there, but if you don't actually have the policies in place to ensure that people or your clients have access to your data, you just have a disaster recovery solution, not a business continuity solution. From a data center design perspective, to be honest, a lot of our clients, I have seen that over time, there are always different teams so the team that implements a solution is not necessarily the same team that supports it, or it's not necessarily the same team that does like the add moves and changes at a later stage in time. So what you end up happening is that your data center ends up becoming cluttered, whether it be from cable mismanagement, whether it be from heating or hotspots, so to speak, whether it be from just the general infrastructure in itself, the UPS not being in place, not to being an N+1, just being an N, or even a generator perspective, or a lot of those deeper level solutions that ensure that you have high availability for your data. So we actually focus on the the data center design as well. Personally, myself, in 2009, I think it was, I was actually a part of the team that assisted in project managing the digital data center. Then it was a tier 3 certified design. Now it's actually a full tier 3. But we actually have an understanding of what it takes to actually take you from N to N+1 or even N+2. As it pertains to IT implementations, you saw the list of the partnerships that we have, and essentially we focus on not just understanding your business concerns, but also providing the technical expertise to actually execute. So with that, we actually have our IT implementation team that focuses on implementing a lot of the solutions that we support. And of course, IT consultations. To be honest, the assessments are really under the IT consultations, but ultimately it's broader because we can look at not just the physical aspect of your IT infrastructure, but also the logical, as well as even the personnel. Because a lot of times, I'm being honest with you, it's the people that are the biggest security risks within any organization. So how do you ensure that your clients, your internal clients, are aware of the necessary security policies to protect the infrastructure? They have to be a part of that team as well, right? Because at the end of the day, there's no IT. It's the entire infrastructure that has to come together to support this particular policy, which is to protect the infrastructure. Data desktop virtualization solutions. Now this is, I believe, a big topic, especially for the future, especially when you look at the BPO sector. To be honest, a computer isn't getting cheaper. Like all of them, they're pretty much the same components, over the years, but they're not really getting cheaper. So I believe that the best way to ultimately mitigate against this is to centralize the entire data and actually have everyone just basically connecting like a dumb terminal. That's actually I would believe, the safest, meaning the most secure, because all your data is one place, pure storage. And at the same time, you can ensure that you have necessary policies to protect that data and ensure it doesn't go off premise, right? But at the same time, it actually allows for management as well, so that you can even do the upgrades easily. Let's say you're upgrading now from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Most personnel, or most IT personnel actually have to go through months of planning and having to go through each of those computers, especially if your infrastructure has anywhere from 20 or more PCs. But with a desktop infrastructure, you can actually have everything centralized, and with just a few clicks of a button, you can manage it, you can upgrade it, and you can move forward. Hence ensuring that you have less problems, especially even in a ransomware attack. You can always just scale back everything and everything is back to normal. And essentially that's pretty much it from our IT perspective, or IT services and solutions perspective. The other slides are more toward the team, which John and I went over already. But I really want everyone to understand that Annexus focuses on their clients' needs, right? We don't try to just sell you a solution and drop it on your desk and move on. We want to actually hold your hands throughout that entire process. We want to understand what your issues are. How does it make you feel, whether it be emotionally, from an IT standpoint, or whatever it may be, because at the end of the day, we all process things differently, right? So it's about building that relationship where we're your trusted advisor, where anything that happens on the network, once you sneeze, just call us, and we'll be there to assist you. Because really and truly, an IT infrastructure is, to me, an IT support infrastructure is like being a fireman, a firefighter, right? At the end of the day, when there's a fire, you pick up the phone and you call a firefighter or call the fire department, you're expecting them to come immediately. Why? Because your entire infrastructure is about to burn down. This is your home, this is your shelter, this is everything to you, and you're about to lose it. And essentially, IT infrastructure is the same for any type of business, because without that infrastructure, there pretty much is no business. So we want to be that trusted advisor for you, that anytime you have any issues, just call on us, the firefighters, IT firefighters, so to speak, and we'll come and put out that fire, and we'll ensure that we put in place the necessary policies to ensure that you don't actually have this problem again. Because for me, when it is that you have the same problem over and over again, it's not the problem that's a problem, it's you. So ensure that you stick with the right team, which is us, and we'll ensure that those problems are solved permanently, so you don't have to deal with them on an ongoing basis. Thank you very much, everyone, for making the time out to come here, and we're really looking forward to not just building a better relationship with each individual client and each individual company, but also to put a mark on the map to say, hey, look, IT is very important, and we really need to start supporting it the way it should be. And thank you very much for the Pure Storage team, because they definitely, I believe, opened our eyes to what the future of IT really looks like, and how we can come together to create a solution that ensures that all of us as humankind live a better life. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
That's some drinks. That's some drinks.
Now it's fun.
Fire 2 to 7.
Before 7, 15 minutes.
Thank you, man.